Israel is preparing for the red heifer ceremony, the first in nearly 2,000 years. As described in Numbers 19, this ritual is key for purifying the third temple. Ezekiel 40-48 prophesies its reconstruction in the last days, and in 2025, the ritual could happen any moment now. Israel is getting ready.
A practice run for the red heifer ceremony in Israel? Yeah, it just happened over the weekend. And the thing about that is, there hasn't been one since the time of Moses. We had 5 red heifers be delivered to Israel a few years ago from here in Texas. Now they've taken one that was no longer kosher and they've done a practice run with this red heifer. Now this is big news because a lot of people are thinking that the actual red heifer ceremony could take place this year at Tisha B'Av in August. So think about this. We've had articles come out recently that the temple could start being built by the end of 2025. We've had 5 red heifers. They're down now to 2 that remain kosher, and they've just done a trial run to see how it would work. If we saw the Abraham Accords signed by the Palestinian people in agreement with Israel that we could start the final 7 years before Christ's return, the red heifer ashes could be used to purify not only those that would go and worship at the temple, but those that would go and begin to build the temple. So many pieces are moving into place. God is up to something. We could be entering into the final 7 years just before Jesus returns for his church. The question is, are you ready?
The building of the third temple. Well, these Jews in Israel believe he will. And not only that, they believe he is actually a type of Messiah to them. This is in their own words and in their gematria.
We'll all see the building of the third temple in Jerusalem very soon. And we honor our President Trump for what he has done for Jerusalem and for the Jewish people.
Mr. Trump could promise to use his building skills to build a temple.
And one day our true leader will come and we'll be united as a whole Jewish nation so we can rebuild the Beit HaMikdash.
Yes, he, I believe, is the Mashiach of Edom. See? And that's why I believe that the gematria of Donald Trump is gematria Mashiach ben David.
Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
And I have good reason to believe Donald Trump was chosen to be the one to redeem the sins of Esav through offering his assistance in rebuilding the Holy Temple on the Temple Mount and establishing the Jewish kingdom over all of mankind in Jerusalem.
Is gematria Mashiach ben David? You know what that means? He, I believe, is the Mashiach of Edom. But Mashiach is nothing more than an anointed one, right? That completely reverses the order of something.
Perhaps it is no accident that the numeric value of Donald Trump in Hebrew is the same as Messiah, son of David, Mashiach ben David, 424.
Happened with the red heifer prophecy. They finished building that $1 billion altar on the Mount of Olives. And one of the major reasons why Kadas attacked Mizrael back in October was because of the red heifer prophecy. Because currently in Jerusalem, the Dome of the Rock is on the Temple Mount. And so by doing this sacrifice, they're basically telling every Muslim that we are about to take out the Dome of the Rock and rebuild the temple. But the issue is that the Dome of the Rock is sacred to the Muslim faith. And so if that's destroyed, not only are the Muslim nations around it going to have a problem, but every Muslim in the world will have a problem. And so it will be just like what the Bible says with Armageddon, where every nation will rise up against Israel. And they literally have all the vessels ready, all the priests ready to serve in the temple. This would be the last thing they need to do in order to begin building the temple. And so if you know we're living in the last days and you want to stay up to date, then subscribe for more. Okay.
We have an update on the red heifer. They have built the altar on the Mount of Olives and hummus. One of the major reasons that they attacked Israel in October was because of the red heifers, because the Dome of the Rock sits on the Temple Mount right now. And by doing this sacrifice of the red heifers, it is an all-out threat of being like, we're going to get rid of the Dome of the Rock and rebuild the temple. The Muslims were just like, no way.
It's a whole different narrative.
What are the potential implications of this being enacted?
The Dome of the Rock is completely sacred to the Muslim faith. Yep. And if that's destroyed, you will not only have every Muslim nation, you'll have every Muslim in the world Well, it'll be like the Battle of Armageddon, which talks about all the nations rising up against Israel. It's crazy that they literally have a sacrifice altar built, and they said it'll happen
recently built.
By the time this comes out, they could have already done it, because they said it will happen any day between now and Passover, which is in the end of April. So I say all that just to be like, yo, just be ready for anything. We have an update on
plans you have for tomorrow, because this cow is about to take over the world. This cow is called a red heifer, and the three biggest religions all have one scary prediction of how the red heifer is going to shut down the entire world. Now, before I tell you this imam's theory, it's critical you understand just how rare these cows are and why millions are suddenly Googling them right now. On the 15th of September 2022, 5 red heifers arrived in the Holy Land after travelling 7,000 miles on a plane from Texas, a transaction that would cost $500,000. Now, you might be wondering, what is all the commotion about? After all, red cows, they're not that uncommon, are they? You're absolutely right, but what makes these red cows so special is that they have to meet very specific requirements to qualify for this colossal event. Let me tell you something. These red heifers have to jump through 4 hoops. The first hoop they have to go through is that they can have no more than 2 non-red hairs on their entire body. If they have 3 black hairs, that's it, they're unqualified. The second hoop our heifers must dive through is they cannot have 1 single spot or blemish on their body. They must be entirely clean. And then the third hoop, which sounds a little bit weird, is they must never ever have had a yoke on them. In other words, they can never have been sent out into a field to work. And then the fourth hoop, which makes finding one of these qualifying cows nearly impossible, is this. This red heifer must be older than 2 years and 2 months. But it cannot be any older than 4 years old, because it's then when the red heifer begins to gain grey hairs. So come on guys, now do you see why the whole world is watching these 5 little cows? Because we haven't seen a red cow like this for over 2,000 years, and now that we have found 5 that qualify, well, know this: if these 5 cows, or one of these 5 cows, is placed in a certain ceremony, just know this: it might just kick a hornet nest. And I'm about to show you why when we look at the Jewish prediction for the red heifer. But right now, let's hear why those who follow the Quran are paying close attention to those Texan cows.
And this will be a huge historical, spiritual event where I anticipate millions of people will come from around the world to experience the cleansing and the spiritual and the emotional high that will be there. I foresee that, this is just my guesswork, and I could stand corrected on this. I foresee that with millions of people there and the ecstasy that will come with it, then very quickly it can be claimed that people got out of control and they entered and destroyed the place, and now a temple can be built on top of it.
Did you catch that? This famous imam predicts that when the Jewish priests perform this red heifer ceremony, something bad will happen to what they believe is their third most holiest site. So let me ask you a question. Why do you think they are so protective of this compound? Well, I think it's because they believe it is a very holy place where their prophet ascended to heaven on a flying horse. And now they believe that the Jewish people are trying to take it from them. And if they achieve this, they believe that it will usher in their predicted Dajjal, a man who will be a false messiah, who will fool many people in the last days by performing miracles and by claiming to be God. They also fear that Jewish archaeologists who are searching for relics beneath the compound are actually trying to weaken the foundations, so their third holiest building will eventually collapse and the Jews will be able to claim the area for themselves. We are actually going to touch on the third temple in this video, but if you would like to see another video where I go much deeper, please do subscribe and I'll endeavour to get that video filmed for you very, very soon. But right now, Did you all know that those who follow the teachings of the Quran believe that this area belongs to them? So these 5 red heifers are actually, in other words, going to upset 2 billion people. So much so that it has been revealed that one of the key igniters to what happened on October the 7th is because America had sent these red cows to the Holy Land. So take all of that into your mind, and when you see the Jewish prediction, you will know why our previous group was very unhappy about the arrival of the red heifers in the Holy Land. In 586 BC, the Holy Temple that was built by King Solomon was dismantled by the Babylonians, and the Jewish people were taken from their homeland to Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar. Then, in 538 BC, all thanks to Cyrus the Great, the Jewish people were allowed to return home. And then in 20 BC, Herod the Great rebuilt a second temple, but sadly this was also turned to dust in 70 AD by the Romans. I wonder what goes through your mind as I tell you this, that for over 2,000 years, the Jewish people have had no temple. And because they believe that God has left the temple, they also believe that their relationship with their Creator is broken. Until a third temple has been rebuilt in the exact place where the other 2 once were. But here's the thing, something else is there in its place. In 685 AD, this was built there. And so inside the compound that I showed you earlier, which is cherished by 2 billion people, it is there that the Jewish people aim to rebuild their third temple. Later in the video, I'm going to tell you what does the Christian think about all of this. But first, let's answer the question that seems to be in everyone's mind right now. What's stopping the Jewish people from rebuilding their third temple? Well, that brings us to these guys, the red heifers. According to Numbers 19, the only way a priest can be purified for service inside of the temple, the only way that the temple itself can be reinstated and communion with God can be regained according to the Jewish rabbis, is by the sprinkling of the ashes from a red heifer. But hey now, do you remember how I told you that there are Jewish archaeologists who are searching beneath the compound? And well, there is something that most people don't know about this. One of the things that the Orthodox Jew believes is that the previous red heifer ashes that were used by the Old Testament priests are still in the Holy Land. And so for many years, diligent searches have taken place to try and find these ashes so that the third temple can be rebuilt. However, as you can see, a plan B has now been put in place. Instead of searching for the ashes, let's search for a red heifer instead. At first, it seemed like this was an impossible task for many years, until in 1996, Melody was born. When this red heifer reached 10 months, everyone was speculating, could she be the one? But 2 years later, this pipe dream disappeared. When a rabbi was scouring Melody for any signs of disqualification, he found a couple of white hairs on her tail. Melody was then followed by 2 further disappointments, one in 2015 and the other in 2018, when the Temple Institute, an organisation which is dedicated to finding red heifers, thought that they'd hit the jackpot, but they again were deflated when they discovered a few black hairs on both of these heifers' coats. I am going to choose my words carefully now, as I think there is still a lot that could go wrong. But in the year that this video was filmed, 2024, it really does seem like all the ducks are lined up and everything might be in place for the long anticipated red heifer ceremony. So allow me to introduce to you 2 men who are behind this master plan. Rabbi Yitzhak, an Orthodox Jew, and Byron Stinson, an evangelical Christian who is also a farmer. These 2 fellas have been best friends for 17 years, and together, by using genetic engineering, they have managed to produce 5 red heifers that from April 2024 meet all of the criteria, and they are at the exact age to be used on the altar. By the way, I probably should have told you this a little bit sooner, but it's not just the cows that have to jump through certain hoops to be fit for the ceremony, but the priests do also. The priest who will conduct the red heifer ceremony must first of all descend from the lineage of Aaron, the first high priest, and must be pure according to Jewish custom. For instance, they must be born at home, not in a hospital, and they can never ever have visited a cemetery in all of their life. And not only that, the location has to be perfect too. The red heifer ceremony must take place on an altar east of the compound, near the Mount of Olives, where the priest can be in sight of the compound itself. So here's the big news. Not only do they have 5 red heifers, but they also have 9 priests who qualify perfectly for the ceremony. And even more unbelievable is in this jam-packed holy city, Rabbi Yitzchak back in 2012 managed to buy a 1-acre plot of land which is perfectly situated and it overlooks the compound. And right now on this plot of land it is actually rumoured that they already have a massive altar built, completely ready for this offering. Okay, so let's ask the obvious question here. If everything is ready, what are they waiting for? Well, if you read between the lines, it seems like the Temple Institute will have the red heifer ashes by 2024, with one prediction being that in December 2024, all of this will take place. But everyone, look at me now. Just like what happened at the eclipse, we mustn't get ahead of ourselves. Even though something might look very end-timesy, that doesn't mean that we're about to see Jesus. But on the flip side, it doesn't mean that we aren't about to see Jesus either. The truth is, none of us know. But what has left many people questioning is an ancient prediction from a famous rabbi who lived 700 years ago called Maimonides. He claimed that because there had been 9 red heifer ceremonies over the years. The first one was with Moses, the second during the time of King Solomon's building of the temple, and the last 7 were conducted during the time of the second temple, 2,200 years ago. So he predicted that the next one, the 10th one, would be the last one, and this would pave the way for their Jewish Messiah. Right, let's just stop there for a minute, because as a Christian, I personally believe that the Messiah has already arrived. So let me try to explain to you how many Christians are interpreting all of this noise about the red heifers. And I can promise you this as well, there are actually many Christians who aren't even thinking about any of this stuff whatsoever. And perhaps that's the best way to live as a Christian. Just take every day as it comes and enjoy the life that God has given you. However, I do believe that every Christian should know something crucial about the red heifer, but we'll get to that in a minute. But what about those of us who seek to study the seasons expectantly? How are those kinds of Christians reading this situation? Okay, well, I'm not going to go into too much detail as I've covered this very recently in these videos here, so if you'd like to check those out, please see a link in the description. However, I will say this. As I hinted at earlier, if anyone dared to try and build the third temple in its previous place, know this, a shockwave would be felt through the entire world. And as the book of Revelation clearly foresees, all of the nations of the world will begin marching to the Holy Land for the biggest and final showdown in human history. And alongside all of this, if the Jewish people get their Messiah, the Bible predicted that this would also happen. And it says that he will only pretend to be their Messiah. After he's gained their love and their trust, after 3.5 years, he will turn on them and he will do some very evil things. The fact is this, guys, if the third temple does get rebuilt, let's expect these things to follow. But just to repeat myself one more time, we won't know until we know. And all of this talk about